Okay, I'm back again. We're going to solve another quadratic equation. And again, we want to practice using the quadratic formula. So the first thing we have to do is make sure our equation is set equal to 0 and written in the descending order, which it obviously is not. So we're going to move the 8x, that term, over to the left by subtracting. None of these terms are alike, so we're going to write them in the correct descending order. 7x squared minus 8x plus 2 equals 0. All right, now I have my equation in the correct descending order. I now know my values of my variables. A is in front of x squared, it's 7. B is in front of x, it's negative 8. C is the constant, 2. All right, I'm ready to use my quadratic formula. So here we go. X equals negative b means the opposite of your b. Again, our b is negative 8, so the opposite would be positive 8. Okay? Then you would write plus or minus square root. We would write b squared. That would be negative 8 squared. I'm just going to do that in my head. Negative 8 times negative 8 is always going to be a positive. That's 64. Then we're going to do negative 4ac. So again, I'm going to do that in my head. Negative 4 times 7 would be negative 28. Negative 28 times 2 would be negative 56. So I'm going to write that. All over 2 times a. 2 times 7 would be 14. So if you want to write the numbers in first and then do the calculation, that's fine. I just do it as I go. Now we have to work inside the root. So we write x equals 8 plus or minus square root. 64 minus 56 happens to be 8 over 14. Well, I have a square root of 8. 8 is not a perfect square, but it has a perfect square in it. So now I'm going to go over here to the side, and I'm going to do what I've learned how to do with roots, reduce them. If 8 is 4 times 2, and I know the square root of 4 is 2, so that comes out, and I cannot square root 2. So I'm going to replace the square root of 8 with its equivalent expression, 2 square roots of 2. So now I have x equals 8 plus or minus, I'm going to replace this square root with 2 square roots of 2 over 14. Okay, everybody's good with that? Now, I know the plus or minus means to separate it into 2 answers because every quadratic has 2 solutions. So I'm going to write x equals 8 plus 2 square roots of 2 over 14. X equals 8 minus 2 square roots of 2 over 14. Here comes our dilemma. We're supposed to add and subtract the numerators. Well, if you look, we do not have like terms. That's a whole number 8, and that's a square root. Don't you dare do 8 plus 2 and make 10. That does not say 8 plus 2. It says 8 plus a 2 square root of 2. This is a radical, a root, and that's a whole number. We cannot add them. We cannot subtract them. So there's nothing we can do with the numerator. But we still have this division bar for dividing. Here comes the boo-boo. When you say divide by 14, you don't just mean the 8. You also mean the 2 square roots of 2. So I'm going to show you a little trick. I call this Mickey Mouse ears. I'm sure by now you all know what the little Mickey Mouse head thing looks like. There's 2 circles for his ears and down here. Doesn't that look like Mickey Mouse? You'll know whether to divide or not by circling all the whole numbers. 8, 2, and 14 are all the whole numbers. I did not circle this 2 because it's inside a symbol, so it's really not a whole number. It's a decimal. If you could take all 3 whole numbers and reduce them, then do so. If you can't, then you leave that answer in that form. Well, I know I can divide 8, 2, and 14 all by 2. So I'm going to divide. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So that makes this solution x equals 4 plus 1 square root of 2. Well, I don't have to write 1 square root of 2. I'll just write square root of 2 over 7. And down here, the same thing. Circled the 3 whole numbers. make Mickey Mouse ears. If all three whole numbers can be reduced, divided by the same amount, then you ought to reduce this fraction. All three whole numbers can be divided by 2. So again, we would get 4 minus 1 square root of 2 over 7. Now, in most algebra books, these answers are conjugates of each other, right? They're opposites. So a lot of times in an algebra book, they'll have these answers together and they'll write the solution set like this. They'll write x equals 4 plus or minus square root of 2 over 7. And that's acceptable if you want to put them back because they are conjugates of each other. The middle symbol's different. So the moral of the story is when you're solving a quadratic equation, you can get answers that are ugly. These are not rational numbers, these are irrational numbers. Because if you did use a calculator to find out what the number is here, the square root of 2 is a decimal that goes on forever and ever. That's what irrational means. And if you added that decimal to 4, you would still have a decimal that goes on forever and ever. And if you divided it by 7, you'd still have a decimal that goes on forever and ever. Okay, see you in the next module.